What's going on, guys? The Ethereum Summit in New York happened this past week, and one of the big items that came up was around DeFi as well as Web 3.0. And there seemed to be two crowds of people at the Ethereum Summit. A crowd of people that, I should say, a group of people that were more in favor of Ethereum being DeFi focused, and another group of people that were still in the camp of a fully decentralized web, aka Web 3.0. And This article here actually gets into the details, which I'm going to be reviewing. It is pretty interesting because Ethereum is a platform that can be used for many things, and DeFi has really become one of the major focal points of Ethereum and one of the bigger items that definitely gets a lot of traffic on my channel. But it is also something that is only a small part of what Ethereum is capable of. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the article and make some comments as I go along. It's not too long. Should only take a few minutes here. Ethereum's true believers think the world's second largest blockchain can still be all-encompassing. Others think a more focused path would be best. That was the tension on display at day one of the consensus organized Ethereum Summit, New York, a blockchain week gathering held at Pioneer Works in Red Hook, Brooklyn on Friday. Ethereum's going to eat everything, Amin Soleimani, SpankChain founder and summoner of the Malak DAO, said during one panel. Earlier in the day, Masari founder Ryan Selkis offered a counterpoint. If Ethereum, he argued, truly reinvents finance, that would be plenty. If you think about Ethereum as programmable money and decentralized finance applications, that's probably good enough, Selkis argued. And I do agree with this. The original, you could say that Ethereum is blockchain 2.0, and one of the bigger points of it is being programmable money. And you would think that being programmable money would really focus it as a kind of financial platform for things like DeFi and decentralizing things like the Federal Reserve and stuff that's really centralized right now, specifically in the United States, and what the US dollar is built on, and really straightening out all of those issues. But as you're going to see, more people are still focused on the Web 3.0 and all of the other things that were promised with Ethereum. When I was at DevCon 3, they were really focused on a lot of the items that were really revolving around Web 3.0. But as we have not moved on to a newer version of Ethereum that actually scales and works faster, a lot of the stuff that Web 3.0 is promising really can't be done until Ethereum is scaled and can process transactions much faster. It reflected an underlying tension at the conference, one where Ethereum's creators and most ardent adherents envisioned a blockchain that reinvents the web as we know it. Still, speakers kept coming back to DeFi, which was unquestionably a major recurring theme for the day, given the rise of Ethereum lending platform MakerDAO. But it was also clear that the crowd was not ready to give up on Ethereum running the decentralized web. Soleimani's ultimate bull case for the blockchain, for example, was when DeFi reaches the nation-state level. Soleimani said, "The announcement that I'm waiting for is the first small nation to announce that they are issuing their own currency on Ethereum." And this actually isn't very far-fetched. We have seen multiple countries, I believe multiple countries, have done bonds, government bonds on the Ethereum blockchain. We have heard about real estate being tokenized on the Ethereum blockchain. And that's really what it was built as. It wasn't really meant to be focused on just one thing. It really is a protocol layer that projects are supposed to be built on top of. So it would make sense that as Ethereum is aging and becoming more and more secure and proving itself over time, just like Bitcoin has, that more and more countries even would see it as a possible solution to run their decentralized currency on. It would take a lot of trust from that government, and maybe a bit more time for Ethereum to prove itself as a stable platform. Maybe even the upgrade to 2.0, which will provide faster transactions per second. But it is something that I can see definitely happening, and that would be a huge bull case for it. As far as price goes, who knows what would happen with that? To Selkis's point, Ethereum's ability to run a new internet hinges on building robust technology that can take much of the pressure off Vitalik Buterin's still constrained creation. If layer 2 does not work, Ethereum will not work. I believe that with pretty high conviction, Tushar Jain, co-founder of Multicoin Capital, said from the Ethereum main stage. There are other layer 1 chains out there that outperform Ethereum on multiple dimensions. Yeah, there are, but they don't have the liquidity yet. Kaleido co-founder Sofia Lopez was more circumspect on the question, though. The trouble with the Web3 visions for Ethereum, she argued, is that it doesn't translate into anything actionable today. And this is actually very true. One of the best ways to get something moving and to get things one of the best ways to prove a technology is to actually have a use case that works today and not promise stuff for tomorrow. And DeFi is something that is working right now. It's probably not working at the best of its ability, but it's not working right now. And the reason why it's gotten so much traction is that a lot of people have seen what it's capable of and have seen it work in the real world. A lot of this talk about Web3 is really hard to envision when you don't see a working product behind it. She said that building toward that long term was still fine, but added, people need to get excited about what they can do today. Brian Flynn of Dapper Labs and Nifty News newsletter was not circumspect. When asked if Ethereum should drop all other applications for DeFi, he gave an immediate headshake. I think DeFi is a solution looking for a problem, Flynn said. Last year, people were all about NFTs, and this year they're all about DeFi. It's just recency bias. I do agree with this first statement here. When asked if Ethereum should drop all their applications for DeFi, of course it shouldn't. Like I said, it's a protocol layer and anything can be built on top of it. They should, focus can be given by any group of people. And obviously DeFi is something that has a lot of traction, but they shouldn't just stop working on Web3. That's just not smart. There's a lot of work that's gone into it, and there's work that will continue to go into it. But they do have traction with DeFi, and that is something that they shouldn't ignore. I don't believe that DeFi is just recency bias. I think that it is something that it's one of the bigger applications on Ethereum that has really gotten traction, and the people that are focusing on it should not be called having recency bias because of it. Consensus Chief Strategy Officer Sam Cassatt gave a talk on stage arguing that humans now evolve by building better institutions. He showed a screenshot of a group of people doing a group video chat and said, "This is a live maker governance call. It's equivalent to watching the Fed set interest rate policy." In other words, DeFi seems to be what gives the original smart contract chain its strongest bragging rights these days. It's the value proposition on which it hopes seem to hang. MakerDAO, the most well-known of the DeFi dApps, has been beset by controversy of late. Nevertheless, MakerDAO smart contract has $346 million in ETH locked up in it, 83% of all the ETH locked in DeFi sector as a whole, according to DeFi Pulse. You can see that here. 372 as of now, and 450 million total. If the main use case remains financial, the question for Ethereum is whether DeFi is all it needs to be. It's a narrative question for Ethereum's community, says Long Reads Sunday curator Nathaniel Whitmore, one the community should have seen coming. This is an inevitable narrative shift, Whitmore said, pointing to those who question the DeFi narrative as nothing more than Ponzi schemes on the blockchain versus those who spin it as a revolution. Whether the question is raised as a defensive counter-narrative or a legitimate critique, Whitmore argued that communities like Ethereum's need to be ready to grapple with these big challenges when they arise. And this is a quote by Whittemore. If you don't understand the narrative your project is coming into, you're a ship without a rudder. Again, I don't necessarily agree with that. I look at Ethereum as kind of a blank canvas, a very large canvas, and we have multiple artists trying to paint on it. And DeFi is just one of the paintings that is being painted on Ethereum. Quite a lot can be done with Ethereum. I think both parties are in the right to want to focus on what they believe is important. Though I do believe that DeFi seems like the next DeFi to me seems like the next logical step for a blockchain beyond Bitcoin, because it is actually something that makes sense with its first kind of use case on paper, which is programmable money. There are still a lot of things that need to be worked out regarding Web3 and how everything's going to work as far as the cost for things like gas for transactions and who's going to pay for them. Obviously, if you want to replicate like a Facebook on Ethereum, there's going to be a lot of transactions going on, and we don't know how a lot of that would happen as far as the payments for those transactions go. Where something like DeFi is obviously money is part of the name, it's part of finance. So that would be something that would be a lot easier to focus on, and the gas costs and transaction costs associated with it would be something that is much easier to organize as part of a transaction for a DeFi application. So the link for this article will be in the description. I do believe that I do believe that DeFi is a good focus, though. Like I said, sorry for repeating myself, I do think that there's nothing wrong with focusing on both. I don't like seeing these groups kind of fragment like this, but the more people involved with Ethereum and building out DeFi and building out Web3, the better. Please like, subscribe, share the video if you liked it. Like I said, the link to this article will be in the description, and that's all I got. Thanks.